Welcome to another live episode of Halftime Adjustments. Your host, Eddie Arnell, my man G Witt, Mr. J.
Tighten up, baby.
Tighten up, baby.
Tighten up.
Baby girl hanging out with us tonight, man. What's going on, fellas? Back at it once again. It was a little hiatus, but training camp has started, gentlemen, and it's an exciting time to be in Nashville. Let me turn my volume down.
Smell the grass, baby. Smell the grass.
A little bit.
It's on.
And so we get our first few days of camp, guys, and a lot to talk about in just these few days. We saw the D-Hop signing, right? D-Hop's in the building now, and he's been impressive so far. You know, we've been hearing about Burks and Phillips and the receiving core. You know, we're going to talk about the backup quarterback situation. We're going to talk about Tannehill a little bit tonight. We're going to talk about the offensive line, but the headline dominator is the defense. I mean, G Witt, man.
Yeah.
Balling, right?
Well, you got to understand that's in training camp, especially. That's to be expected. You got a defense that's been the same for the past 3 years, going against a brand new offense. So you're going to see some things take over, and which is really good because it lets you know that the defense is better prepared and everything. And the thing that's really been, I'm going to say, good for me to see is how well the secondary is playing. From the clips I've seen and everything, even on contested catches, they're pretty much in the mix on all of them. And you hear about how the coverage has been extremely tight. So I think that's great with the defense going, and of course the D line is really the star of training camp so far, and the fact that they're getting into the quarterback so quick. Was it Key that said he probably had 7 sacks?
He had 7 sacks.
7 sacks. By his estimation, Jeffrey is making notions about, we're number one against the run and everything, but we got to start affecting the passer. So he said that's the next step we're going to and trying to get there. So when you see your leader on defense talking that noise like that about getting to the passer, that's where they're headed. And gets you really excited about what this defense is going to be able to do for this upcoming season.
And if y'all been watching the show, man, J. Lou told us over and over again that somebody's their contract is going to be affected one way or the other. And he mentioned Byron, and a lot of people didn't like that. But J. Lou, man,
hey man, I'm glad that I was wrong in the sense that Byard, Tannehill, and the King will be on the team. When they put those 3 in the Oilers throwbacks release, that solidified that they'll be playing this season. But to your point, I was right about the contract, and I like that type of stuff. If you've been following the show, G Witt calls me the czar of the cap.
The cap.
If you look at it, one underrated signing that the Titans had this year was the cap specialist they stole from Green Bay. That is the assistant GM. And even after D-Hop's contract, and if you go look at D-Hop's contract, the Titans got him basically on a 1-year deal. Yeah. It's not, his contract is the first one you see that will start if they release him, next year, that would start eating into the dead money, but they have a lot of cap space the next couple of years, and the hit's only $7 or $8 million, depending on when he's released. So kudos to what they've done for the cap. And again, kudos when Byard finally hangs up the cleats, he needs to be one of the first ones to be in the Ring of Honor as soon as he's gone, because he's been the ultimate team player in Toon Tone Blue since he's been. I think this is his third contract restructure. And they never released the incentives, but I guarantee you his incentives to make that $3 million back, because a lot of people don't know when you have these incentives built into the contract, that don't really impact your cap. That's another way they fluff it a little bit. I guarantee his incentives are something like a workout bonus, a game bonus, etc., because they know that he's there. And probably one of those scratch your back, scratch mine. But if you heard his press conference the other day, he knows that you don't win on paper, but he's willing to do anything to help this team. So good to see that. And I echo everything G Witt said about the defense so far. The one thing I'll caution on, them pads come on tomorrow. So that might be a little different story because right now the D-line, you'll say the D-line's been whooping them, and I think it's been going back and forth. But I think some of the things that the offensive line is working on is more technique than anything. And again, if you go against somebody who's easily the top 3 D tackles in the league, if you got to go against him every day, and Arden Key is an energy guy, you hope that the saying is true: iron sharpens iron. But you have to like what you see from the defense so far. And then I tell you, the person I've been impressed with has been Mr. Fulton.
Yeah.
He's got to go up against D-Hop, and he's going to get a workout. And I mean, we saw what D-Hop did with Arizona last year when he came in here and torched him a couple years ago. But I think that's you've got some talent on each side of the ball where iron can sharpen iron, and what we would consider some of the weak points, whether that be the trenches on the O-line or the secondary for the defense.
Yeah, and Vrabel's been harping on Fulton, as you mentioned him, man, what kind of shape he's in, and he's been playing so aggressive, and he looks bigger. I don't know if y'all seen a picture of Harold Landry, man. Harold Landry looked like he on swole.
Yeah, Harold Landry looked like somebody who missed a whole year and did nothing but stayed in the weight room.
That's it.
Right. That's exactly what he looked like. I was looking at him today. I was like, good Lord. Dion, what's up, man? Will says, how many receivers we gonna keep? Y'all see that behind Burks, Phillips, and D-Hop. Well, so here's another person. Since we talking about the receivers, go ahead and talk about them guys, man. Chris Moore.
Yeah,
Vrabel's actually been praising him on the first couple of days. Of course, again, we're in shorts and t-shirts, basically, right? Helmets don't really mean a whole bunch. I tell my son that I said, don't worry about that stuff until you get in the pads. That's when you show out.
Yeah.
But like you said, J. Lou, man, they'll be in the pads tomorrow. Of course, you got to think about this too. The quarterback he's not getting a lot of time because the defense is eating him up. Now, we can look at that 2 different ways, right? The defense is great up front, which we know they have potential to be.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to think about the offensive line is new. They're gelling, they're trying to figure each other out. So it's going to take some time. But yeah, Chris Moore, man, he's an interesting person, could possibly make the team. Hadn't heard a bunch from Reggie Roberson or McMaster. McKenzie's been doing well, but he does well every camp and doesn't make the roster. So
he's a camp darling, man.
Right. Trayshawn Harrison and Kyrus Jackson, some undrafted free agents, have been making a little noise too, G with.
Yeah.
So
but,
go ahead.
Well, if you don't mind, a couple of things. One, I want to go back, and I text you guys about this, about Kevin Byard, man. Kudos to him for restructuring his contract, but also kudos for him for talking about when they asked him about D-Hop coming and everything. He was the only one to mention the fact that, hey, look, I remember when Julio came in here. It doesn't matter right now. What matters is when we get in the game, and 2, you still got to put the work in.
Right.
And that's what I was talking about, over the summer and everything, before doing the OTAs. You just got to keep those leaders in the locker room, man, to keep everybody focused. And Byard has proven himself to be a leader in the locker room and chirping and everything and trying to get that secondary to play harder and better because it's going to be beneficial to him. So he doesn't have to be having so much to cover. And it might help him get those incentives in, J. Lou, as far as what he has to do and everything. If he can keep that secondary intact and keep them playing ball. But the receiver side of it, man, I would say this. It's been basically the top 3, but I don't know. I still am holding out hope for my man, Colton Dowell, man, for him to actually do something. He had a couple of good things, a couple of bad things. Mm-hmm. He was smart. He dropped the pass or got it stripped from him, but then dude was chirping. He went on back to the huddle, lined back up. Let's get ready to go again. So I'm interested to see how he's going to look at pass as well.
Yeah, Monty Rice was telling him this is not college anymore.
Yeah.
J. Lou, let me break this up too real quick about kind of mention the offensive line. So we had another practice where Jamarco Jones didn't show up. Wasn't on the field.
Yeah, well, I think,
but he came back.
He came back. Yes, say he came back, and he got a little scrappy with Arden Key. They said to him, which you expect that. There's a reason they brought in Hubbard as far as right tackle, because I don't think they want to go with in-house, but I think that's the one that's got them a little worried right now. You're hoping that the new offensive scheme can probably cover some of the deficiencies you might have at right tackle. Because you got to solidify one. And I mean, Dillard is another case of you hoping iron sharpens iron. Now I saw a clip floating around social media where you would have thought that Dillard got just rushed on the play, but it was another coach that looks at offensive linemen and said he did exactly what he's supposed to do on that type of scheme for that play. So you're hoping that that's some of the things they're working on without the pads and going fast that way. But you really hope that the offensive scheme, because if one thing is this has not been talked about, some of these balls that you've been seeing Tannehill just put on a dime to any receivers out there, it has the opportunity to be something special. I'll tell you. I mean, and again, I know it's early. We're only 4 days in the camp, just not getting pads on, but it's a world of difference a year in the NFL makes, and going through a whole offseason. Burks looks like it. We talked about Landry. Burks looks like a completely different human being out there now. I mean, completely different. He looks in shape, and then he just looks healthy. I know last year was all about the breathing and getting right and look out of shape. Now he's in shape and he's ready to go. And I'll tell you, Chig is probably as advertised as well. So we've got some underrated weapons. The key is just if that offensive line can hold up to give Tannehill an opportunity.
Yeah, and so I think, like you said, 5 to 6, and who those are, of course, it's a crapshoot right now. But it seems like Chris Moore is being mentioned, like I said, by Vrabel. That goes a long way. The rest of it is a crapshoot. I don't think, and this is just my opinion, I don't think Racey McMath makes this team this year. He's practice squad material.
I think Racey has an outside shot at special teams just because of his speed and gunner. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this wild card out there. Keep an eye on NWI. Remember, I told y'all earlier his contract is easy to be cut, so keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
I was gonna throw his name in there too, J. Lou.
Yeah, the thing about NWI, one of the things, if you notice on these clips and everything, you see the same issue that you had with him last year. Just slow off the ball, man.
Yeah,
just slow off the ball. So you're seeing other guys, actually coming off the ball a lot quicker. Even on those delayed routes they're putting out there, coming out a lot quicker, getting into their cuts a lot quicker than NWI. NWI, right now you got to look at him as what? At best 4th or 5th receiver.
And then possibly, fifth, right?
Yeah. And then possibly even going down to where he's going to be like Racey McGrath, special team.
And then you got to look at his speed for that, right?
And his speed doesn't work in special teams,
Right. And so G with Jay Lou's back. So talk to me about Jay Lou, since you came back on. I know you kind of got your hands full. So tell me about D-Hop, man. What's your first take on him? We hadn't talked about it live on the show. So what are you seeing out of him that you like?
He's been at practice. that was the knock on him, that he didn't practice. And again, I know we have that PTSD syndrome when it comes to these 30-year-old receivers coming in. I know, again, G-Wit, I know it's early, so I'm there with you. I'm not going to say I'm full-blown there with you, but I'm there with you. I'm hesitant. But I'll have to admit, he looks a little different than Julio and Randy when it comes to the practice practice piece. And I think he's going to be good for Burks as well, because you like that mentorship that he's doing. So I'm going to mute just a second, guys. I apologize, but y'all know
that's all right, man.
I got it going on over here.
But I'll agree with J. Lou on this, and the fact that, seeing him in practice is good. I'm the main one with the PTSD when it comes to these older receivers. I'm not even going to deny it. Matter of fact, we were out yesterday, me and my wife, and met this guy. He saw my jersey with the number 18 on it. He's like, "Who is that?" I'm like, "It used to be Kenny Britt." He said, "Oh man." I was like, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah." He had that one good year towards ACL, and then after that, he was no more good. Then we went down the list: Julio Jones, Randy Moss, David Givens,
Andre Johnson.
Yancey Thigpen. So you can see why I got PTSD about all of this. The thing I like about it, like you said, one, he's out there practicing. Two, what I like about D-Hop, and I know some people might take this as standoffish, but I like his post-practice interviews with the press and everything, because he's matter of fact. He's not sugarcoating anything. He's not saying anything to please the crowd. Matter of fact, and a lot of the questions he just answers like, "Hey, yeah, I've always done that. Okay, let's next question," and all that kind of stuff. So I like his attitude, and I do agree with the fact that I think his practice and work ethic is going to rub off on people, especially like you see Treylon Burks, you see our boy Kyle Phillips. you know, you can see that how he practices rubbing off on them. And I look at somebody like a Colton Dower, man, coming in. I think it's going to help him tremendously just to have that veteran leadership, because we know from experience, having gone against him all them years he was in Houston, that D Hop is a monster. And, you know, and bottom line, he's a route runner. He catches everything that comes his way, you know, and that's going to be the whole deal. So if he can help those guys learn how to do that and learn how to practice and catch the ball the way he does, then that's going to elevate that wide receiver room quite a bit.
Yeah, and you know, he catches the ball with his hands, G. But we talk about that a lot from the receivers, letting the ball get to their bodies. He attacks the ball. He wins the 50-50 matchups. And, I mean, we saw the highlight against Christian Fulton, right? A great catch, a good throw by Tannehill. And, you know, like you said, what he brings to the team is that veteran presence. And it picks up everybody's game, right? Because everybody sees how he practices, and they want to pick up that game. But so sky's the limit for this group. You know, a few weeks ago, we were like, man, they need to do something for this wide receiver room. They were, you know, the depth chart was looking bleak at best. You know, you had Burks and you had Chig, and then what else you had? Some unknowns, right? We knew NWI wasn't the guy because he doesn't have the speed that Vrabel has been preaching. And so as you look at D Hop coming, and you got Kyle Phillips starting to, he's healthy, he looks good at practice so far. And you got a wild card like Chris Moore, a little wily veteran that can probably, you know, get you some of those tough catches here and there. And then you got the undrafted guys that the guys mentioned in the chat, man, that could possibly be some diamonds in the rough. They could be contributing to this offense this year. So, hey, man, I'm excited. I'm glad he's on the team. You know, and it's rightful, G, with to have that issue with the older receivers coming in, man. It's just this team has had bad luck with free agent receivers since they've been in Tennessee. Yep. So we all know that.
Outside of Nate Washington, who had his issues.
Well, that's G Wiz boy.
Yeah, that's the only one. You know, going back about the wide receiver room and a difference one guy makes. I know Will asked the question about 5 or 6. Think about it. We can name the top 4 probably right now when you go right. Burks, D Hop, Phillips, and I put Chris Moore as 4th, the free agent. Yeah. So then it's about who's battling for 5th and 6th. And I think that's where you see a lot of special teams comes into play, because I'm with Dion on there. We got some undrafted guys that it's going to be hard to keep them on that practice squad if you start seeing some injuries or whatnot to guys around the league. So it's good to have that competition, and it makes you feel better about the wide receiver room now as opposed to a month or so ago before we added somebody like DeAndre.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I will say this: if he pans out and comes to play and is available from the beginning of the season, you'll see the difference in the running lanes for Derrick Henry, because he brings the one. He's going to be that one guy that you got to cover, and also you got to cover Treylon Burks. The little sample that you got from him last year showed you that he can be dangerous when healthy. Mm-hmm. So I think you see less people in the box of going against Derrick Henry right there, and that just opens up the run game even more. So D-Hop has some extreme value. Again, my whole thing with him is just about being healthy and being available during the season.
And I agree with you, Will. He needs to stop all those acrobatic catches in practice, man. We don't need that right now. We know he can make the catch, man. We know he got the big mitts. He can make the tough catches. We've seen it his whole career. He did it last year. And let's not forget he was suspended the first half of the season and still put up some good numbers. And so
he put up some good numbers with, my bad, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
he put up some good numbers with practice squad quarterbacks throwing to him.
That's
like
right.
They talked about they had a article on maybe the Titans, one of the Titans beat writers or something, or on the radio. All the quarterbacks that D-Hop has caught for in his career. And when you hear some of these names, you like, man, that person played quarterback. So to your point, he's a tremendous talent. And if that work ethic can just rub off a little bit, I mean, I like what, to G-Witt's point, I like what he's done in post game because he's just straightforward. But I also have liked 2 things I've heard him say about mentoring that wide receiver room. And one of the reasons he came here was G-Witt kept saying that, Tim Kelly's never had a running back like Derrick Henry. D-Hop said the same thing, that he's never played with a running back like Derrick Henry, and he knows what that can do for him as well as what he can do for Derrick Henry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really important. And again, the fact of the matter is, man, is just that, you just see a guy like that. He's just that competitive. He's a competitor. Like I said, we've seen him play when he played for Houston, so we know. Let's be honest, we know D-Hop. We rooted against him I don't know how many times and get mad at DBs because I've always accused D-Hop of pushing off and everything because I'm like, there's no way
he does push off.
But that's a veteran move, so you understand that. So the thing is, really, you just want to see him be consistent in catching and everything. And again, my whole thing is about being available. I like the fact that he and Tannehill are really getting on the same page very quickly. I think that's really important because, again, Tannehill sometimes in tight games can become a panic thrower. And if he can get the ball to D-Hop, he's got a couple of things can happen for him. Either D-Hop is going to catch it or D-Hop is a wily enough a veteran that he's going to knock the ball away and not let it get intercepted.
Yeah, and just to put a bow on that group, though, pay attention to Trayshawn Harrison and Kearis Jackson.
Yeah.
Like you said, Jay Lou, it's going to be hard to keep those guys off that roster. And I think at the chagrin of NWI, McMath, and Mason Kinsey. So anyway, so let's look at talking about the quarterbacks, guys. So can we finally give Tannehill a little bit credit, man? He's balling right now. Of course, again, we in shorts and shoulder pads, right? We in shorts and shoulder. I gotta throw that out there every time.
Every time,
different.
absolutely.
It's different, And so I'm interested to see, guys, though, what Vrabel does in the first preseason game. Will we see the ones? Will we see Tannehill? Because Tannehill's playing, he's playing ball right now. Now, behind him, they started off camp decent. I'm going to say that. But the bottom line is, fellas, we don't have a backup quarterback right now.
I'm going to say we don't have one that's really giving you a whole lot of confidence going into the season. Let's put it like that.
Right.
Let's be real. We knew this last year. Yeah. And we knew this after the draft.
Mm-hmm.
We already said it. We knew that Tannehill is going to be the key and that, you hope Malik Willis has grown. But we also knew that Will Levis wasn't going to be ready either. So this is a whole thing we got to deal with this quarterback situation. And that's why, going back to Jay Lou's point earlier, that offensive line is really going to be important. And also the way Tim Kelly calls the offense as well. It's got to be something that's going to keep Tannehill out of harm's way, quick passes or whatever the case may be, while that offensive line gets its act together. Because right now, they are a work in progress. Granted, going against one of the best defensive lines in the league is a plus because every defensive line is not going to be as good as ours. Let's be real about that.
No.
So it gives you an opportunity to go against a great defensive line, learn how to block. Again, we got Aaron Donald 2.0 and Jeffrey Simmons. Your boy Danico Altre knows how to get in there. And you got your boy Pop-Tart. Now, and then you got your Harold Landry back, Rashad Weaver, Arden Key. I mean, come on, let's think about this now. I mean, that's a tough front five right there, not accounting the middle linebackers. So hopefully the offensive line, again, that iron sharpens iron. By the time the regular season rolls around, they'll be good. But back to your point, Eddie, I think you do see the first string offense play simply because you're running a new offense and they got to get that continuity together.
Yeah, I agree. You got to play this year. I mean, we're in a different space now, right? You got a new offense. You got some new guys that need that chemistry. But J. Lou, man, Arden Key is wreaking havoc on the offensive line already, and they're not even in pads. So just imagine what he's bringing. So, but go ahead, J. Lou. I'll pitch mine in just a second.
So you're hoping that lightning strikes twice. We stole Danico in division, and you called that one the entire summer when it's happening, and we haven't missed on that. You're hoping we see the same thing with Arden Key, who's finally getting the first opportunity in his career to be a full-time starter and not just a third down guy. And I can tell you this, I look forward to going to practice against the Patriots. I know how much trash Big Jeff talked last year against Tampa Bay. He's got a running buddy. When Jeff says in his press conference that Arden Key talk more noise than him, I can't wait for that. And again, you like it because they bring that out of each other, and he fit right in with this team. Like his personality fit right in, and you're hoping that translates onto the field. And again, he's got somebody. I heard Jeff say the other day he's licking his chops. He told Harold he was glad to see him back because now that means the tackles can't bend down on him. And you think about it, they can't double team him and get out there like that now because you have to respect Harold Landry. Harold Landry looked the part like he's back and again full blown. So I mean, I joked with y'all and said if he's at least 85%, then that's a win. I think he might be that in training camp already. But man, just to see what Arden Key, and you think about it, we got the Azir, the linebacker. You haven't heard any. To me, that's still the weakest spot on our team that we have to see what's going on with it as far as the front seven. But you've heard nothing comfort him because I believe fully that this front four is going to have enough rotation in there that it was good to hear them say, we know we were number one against the run. We know you're not coming to run on us. Now we're working on pass rush.
Yeah.
So if they just add a little bit of that to what they already was doing against the run with some of the dogs they getting back, you would think at each level, the linebackers and secondary have to get better. But man, the energy level that he's bringing, Ed, again, I look forward to the highlights tomorrow when they're in pads because I think we will hear some noise from everybody tomorrow.
Right. And so, and I saw on social media some they were talking about Dillon getting whooped and the offensive line. So again, these guys, this is the first time these guys together, and we are in year 3 of Shane Bowen's defense with just about everybody back. Of course, you got a new middle linebacker, you got a new cornerback in Sean Murphy-Button, but everybody else is back. And so you got guys with experience. They already know. So now, G, what we talked about 3 years ago, where they was thinking too much and they was trying. What was the word they were using? Communication.
Yeah.
Now they just playing football because
Yeah.
they know the scheme. Now you see them flying around. And one other thing that Vrabel was talking about was the speed of practice. So he's got the people. You know, he harped on that at the end of the season. We got to get faster. Got to get faster. Go ahead.
That's what I was going to bring up. I think it was either you or G. Witt brought up, putting Tannehill in position to out of harm's way, the offensive line. One thing that helps with that is speed and hurry up offense.
Yes.
I mean, if you hurry up offense, we know that don't help the D line because you'll see them gassing. So I think you see that mixed in a little bit more. And again, even if when I say hurry up offense with this team, I think you see a lot more run to the line and we run the play clock down to 15 seconds, getting the play that way because you still can't sub out. Then back to as far as the preseason, I'm with y'all. I think you see the ones run at least a series. The first game, the next 2 games are going to be tricky because you got joint practices. But I think at least the first game you get them a series, and then you split between Malik and Will to see who can be your backup. And the one thing I liked from Malik the other day, he threw an interception because they had Key or somebody drop back. Reaver drop back in coverage. The very next play hit him with a 75-yard bomb.
Right.
So to me, that's growth from last year, not getting down. So that's the type of things you like to see because you want your backup quarterback to just be serviceable, to be able to come in if they need to spell him for a game or two. And seeing him grow like that, I'm rooting for Malik because I think the talent, we talked about it, he's got some intangibles that Will just doesn't bring to that position.
Right.
And that's the thing about it, man. I think really with Willis, like you said, his intangible, first of all, he had the best arm out of all the quarterbacks coming out last year, without a doubt. And he can run fast and everything. The thing about him, what we need to see more from him this season, as opposed to what we saw last year, you're right, Eddie, less thinking and more just getting the ball out there. His hesitation was really what cost him, because one of the things, going back to D-Hop, one of the things he said that really drew him to Tennessee was the fact, watching them all season, and said when they put in Josh Dobbs, how we were a few plays away from winning both of those games.
Right.
He said that just lets you know what kind of team this is. They're only missing a couple of pieces.
A couple.
So I mean, you look at it like this. Like I said, if Willis could come back and just again be, like you said, be serviceable, be ready, not thinking so much, getting the ball out quicker, making his reads quicker. I think with Tim Kelly calling the plays, it might make it a whole lot easier for him. Getting the ball out, he'll call plays to his strength rather than just calling the regular offensive plays. He'll change the playbook up some. And I think the same thing would happen with Will Levis if he had to be in there. But right now, really, what we really want is we want 17 to 19 games out of Tannehill.
That's right. That's right.
what we want.
I'm with you with the 19 games.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
17 to 19 games or 20 games, however many it takes. We need Tannehill for all of them.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dion. The coaching for the quarterbacks in particular and the offense, you got Malik more comfortable because he's there, right? He's there. He's getting a full training camp. He had a full off season, and so he is more comfortable. I definitely agree with you. It's gonna be, I don't know, y'all, and I'm not gonna say it this way, but it just seems like there's something different. I get, they have that bad taste in their mouth from losing 7 straight, something that they haven't done around here in some years. You go back to those painful years, G Wit, that we talked about before, those 2 and 14 years, those 3 and 13 years, where the wheels just fall off and you're just hoping that they can just make some kind of effort to improve the football team. It's just something different. And I know it's early at camp, man, but you can just tell the tone has been set for this 2023 season by the veteran leadership. Starting with Big Jeff and Byard, man, and Derrick Henry. Those guys are you can just see it that they're hungry. Yeah. And we can't go without talking about. Go ahead.
No, I'm just going to agree with you, man. I think there's a couple of things. One, like you said, the veteran leadership, the fact that Byard's there, Big Jeff is there. Like you said, Derrick Henry is there. Derrick Henry is doing everything he can to be ready for the season and all that, showing his leadership, being there through OTAs when he wasn't there last year. So you see all of that happening, and the good thing about him being there. So I think there's a different mindset. And a matter of fact, I think it goes back to what D Hop said, that even though they lost some games, you knew they were really in some games as well, and it was just a matter of not having the proper playmakers or players in place. Again, it's about that availability. Like I said, we need Tannehill 17 to 20 games easy, and we need all of them 17 to 20 games. We need to get past that dark cloud and get back to playing some winning football. And I think again, everybody's not really talking about us, and if they're talking about us, they're not really saying much about us at all. They're not expecting anything out of us. So I think right now those guys are taking it and putting a chip on their shoulder and saying like everybody's forgotten about us, so we're going to show them who we really are, the two-tone blue.
So Brian says, what do we think about Levis? You guys want to attack that first? Or want me to go first?
So I'm gonna go back to the wide receiver group for just a second.
Yeah,
this is where them numbers get tricky, because I personally think, as of right now, if you asking me today, July 30th, we still got 6 weeks before the season starts, about 5 weeks to cut down.
Mm-hmm.
I think they keep 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah,
I look at the capital. You got a 3rd rounder who's on his 2nd year. You gave up draft picks to basically get a 1st rounder. I mean, he was pick 33. There's 32 picks in the 1st round. So I think they keep both. I think because you haven't seen, and again, you haven't seen an extension yet for Tannehill or for Henry, I think that they're playing on a 1-year contract with those guys and trying to build some talent around them. So to G Witt's point, this ain't a rebuild. It's more of a retooling to win with the guys we got. And if you can get another year of coaching for Malik and coaching, because I think Charles London is a phenomenal quarterbacks coach. I think that's a great. Vrabel had a few good moves this year that somebody was in his ear, like I've been saying, and say, okay, I kept you instead of J-Rob. Now I need you to make these changes and let's go do something. And I think if you can get those two to get some good coaching, they'll be as good as the talent that surrounds them. Because at the end of the day, from a business side of it, you want Levis or Malik to pan out, because if you just look around the league now, you're Philly, everybody except Kansas City. Take Kansas City out because they got an alien playing quarterback. But everybody else, your Cincinnati's, all of them, they're building their teams because you go on these rookie contracts. So you're hoping from a business standpoint that Levis is cheap and Malik was a cheap one, that if you could get them to work out to be a average to a mid-average to great to good quarterback, and you build the talent around them, you can have a couple years you can buy yourself before that contract comes up. So I think Levis, I think he has a shot on the team. I mean, you've seen some good balls that he's had, and again, I know it's a little suspect-y for him. I put Levis in the same category that I put Traylon Burks in last year. Burks came in here as a rookie last year, and everybody automatically hated him because he wasn't AJ. He had to get compared to AJ so much, etc. I put Levis in the same category because he came to a team that's in SEC country that bleeds orange, and they just see what they saw at Kentucky and not really looking at the previous year. So I just think that, I think mentally you don't want Will Levis to play a game this year, similar like we didn't want Malik, but I think you want him to get all the practice and soak all that up. And then next year your competition is Malik or Levis if they decide to move on from Tannehill.
Yeah. And I agree with you, J. Lou. And again, like you said, the key is really what they don't want to do. You really don't want to see either one of them play. In all honesty, you really don't. Except for maybe in mop-up town if we're winning by 4 touchdowns with 10 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. And even then you got to be careful about that. But I just think right now what you're looking at is 2 quarterbacks. You're seeing one who has the benefit of being in the league going on the second year. It's amazing what happens with a full offseason for these guys when they come back. Now, Will Levis, first of all, let's remember, he's a rookie quarterback. And I don't care what anybody says. I don't care who they are. You will see some good moments out of these rookies, and you're going to see some bad moments. That's even out of Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, your boy down in Houston, all these big name quarterbacks. They're going to be having their ups and downs the whole season long. And that's just what's going to happen. Even Sunshine down in Jacksonville had his problems the first year. Granted, Urban Meyer was his coach, but he still was going to have his problems. They're late with throws all the time. They're not exactly accurate with their throws. The question is going to be, can they learn throughout the season and be better? That's what you got to see, that constant growth from him. That's what you want to see from Malik Willis. And, of course, they're saying that, Vrabel is talking about him and telling everybody that he's shown tremendous growth in the offseason. Again, you better show tremendous growth if in the last 2 games of your rookie season, they're bringing somebody off the street and start him before they start you. They're letting you know right then and there. And I'm sure his dad told him too, dude, they're not playing. You got to get your act together. And you see that in the way he's, like you said, threw an interception to Rashad Reeve and came back with a 66-yard bomb. That's what you got to see. And that's what you got to see from all of them. I mean, Will Levis is going to have to go through the same thing. And so right now they are who we know them to be. That's why I keep saying we need Tannehill 17 to 20 games. Okay, I'm not going to get past that one.
Yeah, so Levis he's got all the tools, right?
Cold,
he's got all the tools. He's got the arm, he's got the mobility. It's just his decision making, right? His decision making and his mental game needs to improve. So could he be a good quarterback in this league? He's got the potential, right? Yeah. He's got the talent. It's just his mindset. And like you said, he's his first year in the league. He's got a hill to climb to learn. And Brian, thank you for that comment, man, because he comes back. He said he didn't like the way Malik was in his press conference. So that goes back to something that G-Wiz said last season during the show when Malik was laughing because he couldn't get the defense to jump offside. So, he's right there with you, Brian. He's right there with you.
I will say, because I agree with that, I think that was a level of immaturity that I have yet to see this season from him. He spoke the other day. He sounded more like a polished QB because I agree. I won't forget the game with him laughing in there. And you're right. His press conferences were not – he wasn't the most polished. So I'm hoping that has just come with a year of seeing that this ain't Liberty University where you're the man. You've got to go earn it now in a profession.
And you also got a kicking competition going on between Trey Wolf and Caleb Sadek. I mean, so – it's going to be interesting to see who wins that battle. Sadek's got the upper hand because he was on the team last year. He didn't play much at all, but he was on the roster. And so now you got a rookie coming in that's challenging him for his spot. But so that's competition all over the field. You got to love that, man. Competition all over the field. No position safe at this point, especially in that wide receiver room, which probably got the most depth on the team right now as far as bodies goes. But then the offensive line as well, what they're going to do at right tackle. Is Hubbard the answer? Is JaMarco Jones going to play there? Can he stay healthy? Because we know he's that ghostly figure that shows up one day and we don't see him no more. I mean, I promise y'all, we went to the training camp with the Bucks last year. I mean, he was there for one play and then he was gone. He was gone, never to be
And
seen again.
Never saw him again for the whole 2022.
I didn't even know what he looked like. I mean, we only got a glance at him and he was gone. Like, who is this guy? So,
Yeah, it's going to be that offensive line. Really is going to be. It's going to be the key for everything. In all honesty, even Big Jeff said that. Bottom line is the trenches. He said the trenches.
That's what the game is won.
And we know our trenches would. And again, it goes back to what we were saying all last year. We know our trenches were not good as they should have been. And he wasn't as hard about the deep, but he made sure he told the offensive line was not as good as it should have been. Which is what we said. I mean, the offensive line was trash. So that's really the key for the whole team.
So think about this, though, fellas. Think about it. I mean, really think about this. And I know y'all have. So you go back to the Kansas City game, overtime game. You go back to the playoff game against the Jaguars. We did all that with what we had last year. With Malik playing in that one game, you had Josh Dobbs in the other game. I mean, other than Philadelphia where they got boat raced and Buffalo, the rest of them games, had the Bengals on the ropes, gave up some last-minute stuff.
Again, it goes back to what D-Hop said.
Right.
It goes back to what he said. He said they were in games. He said, I was watching them from afar. They were in games. This team was only a few players away. He said all they missing is a few key players, so he can come in there and be a part of that. So I think that's great. So,
you missing one key factor in that too. We did all that with a tied down in offense.
Yeah.
You don't say that name, man.
I'm sorry, I forgot. But woo.
You don't say that name.
So, Ryan, appreciate your comment, man. I am not concerned at this point because wearing shorts and T-shirts. And the offensive line is still, they're brand new together. Now, his one-on-one presence, that's different, right? He's got a better pass block, pass protect. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. It's something to keep an eye on. I'm not concerned about it at this point of him getting beat. But, if it becomes an alarming trend, now either our defensive line is that great or he's not good at all. So, you take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I like the fact, one thing about Arden Key that's underrated and you don't mention, he's hitting Dillard with more than just a speed move. Like he's throwing several different moves.
Which is good.
Wait, that's what I'm saying, which is good. So again, I'm with you. I'm not concerned yet. Again, they don't have on pads. And I think personally, Dillard's been working on some more technique stuff that's making him look like he's getting beat and just trying to reform him because we're in training camp. So I think we'll know for sure by that second how it looks against Minnesota and against New England when you go against different teammates in practice. I think then we'll have a better understanding of if this is going to be a hold your breath type of year at both tackle spots.
You got to think about this too, man. He's again, I'm not making an excuse for him, so don't take it that way. But he's gone from a backup role to a starting position. That's huge, right? That's huge for a guy to be in the spotlight that's not used to that. And so, man, appreciate you, Brian, man, watching the show. Keep supporting us, man. Thank you very much. He had to sign off, but yeah, guys, that's just a few days in the tank. Training camp is here. We got a preseason game this week. The Hall of Fame game on Thursday of this week. The Cleveland Browns. I can't remember who they playing against. But so football is here. Football is here.
Hey man, and going along, y'all was talking about Dillon, man. I think a couple of things people have to remember. He was a first-round pick for Philly, and the thing that really kept him down was injuries. Mm-hmm. So granted, Philly let him go because they tried him out at right tackle, and he wasn't any good at right tackle at all. So that experiment failed. So we automatically know he's a left tackle only. The question is going to be, can he function at left tackle, and can he pass protect the way we need him to protect Ryan Tannehill's blind side, and also being able to open holes for Derrick Henry. That's really going to be a huge key as far as that's concerned. So we'll see. Like I said, the pads come on tomorrow, and we'll find out some things during that time, but we're also going to see it during the preseason game as well, how well they block and everything.
Before you go, Ed, that's what you just said, G. Witt, is one thing I'm looking forward to in pads and through the preseason is the run blocking. Because if you go just read the tape on the offensive line, we got a lot of pass blocking offensive linemen who are average at best run blockers, but better pass blockers, more athletic, which is something different than the big maulers we've had for the last few years. So I'm interested to see what the running scheme looks like. Do you see more zone schemes or whatnot, running schemes for Derrick Henry? That's one underrated thing that I think you see it go back to a more of a mix of what Arthur Smith did between his zone running schemes.
I think so. I think you see something similar to that. I really do. And you know, and it helps that you got some guys like you said that can move and zone in the zone scheme, and so it's gonna be pretty interesting, man. I'm excited. I mean, football season's here. Like I said, we got a preseason game coming up this week. Then you'll see the Titans in another week and a half or so play their first preseason game. But like you both said, I think we find out more about Mr. Dillard when they have those joint practices. Because now you're going full speed against another person, and you know, and it's full speed to a certain point, right?
Right.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what have you. Thank you for that, Ryan. The Browns play the Jets, so you'll get to see a little bit of Aaron Rodgers, maybe not, probably not, more than likely. But he's got new guys too around him. So somebody mentioned Jonathan Taylor earlier that he wants out of Indy, and we kind of talked about that yesterday. That Jim Irsay is the new Jerry Jones of the AFC.
I'm just glad they in the AFC South.
Man.
I'll be honest, I don't want him gone as a Titan fan because if you go and look, he don't really do nothing against the Titans. It was always Naheem. What you call it? Naheem Hines was a Titan.
You know, he's not even playing this
year. He's not even playing this
year. Freak accident, man.
A jet ski accident.
Yeah.
Right.
So the Colts, they got their own issues up 65.
Yeah. So you know, the thing about it is, you know, like you said, that whole situation is just bizarre. It is just bizarre, and the numbers I'm hearing that Jonathan Taylor was wanting on his contract. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for guys making their money, but I mean, come on now. You know that's a big of a stretch as far as I'm concerned. And again, I think, like you said, Irsay. Well, yeah,
it's got even messier since we've been on the show because Irsay came out now and said that Taylor will play for the Colts this year, and then he's gonna be gone because they're not extending him. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. And then even the GM Ballard chimed in and agreed and said he's hate how it played out. So when you already know that you're going to play on a lame duck,
he's not interesting.
Guess what? He ain't going to play this year.
No. He's not coming.
Why risk getting hurt? Yeah, you don't have a guaranteed contract.
He's not going to come. They're not going to trade him. You just got to hope his situation turned out better than it did for Le'Veon Bell.
Yes.
But he's not coming. Because when you put that out there talking about we're not going to extend him, and that let the guy know, like, okay, look, you might as well keep your money.
Yep.
That's what they're going to do. Because, I mean, you know, he's going to dig in now. Because if he comes back, it's going to be the same thing for him that happened with Melvin Gordon when he was with the Chargers. It's the same thing. Because once you step out there, you got to stick with it. You can't come back because Melvin Gordon came limping back with his tail between his legs, and he hadn't been the same running back since then.
Nope. So, I mean, you got to think about it for them, too. They got a rookie quarterback that they plan on starting, and you're going to take away his running game. So, man, whoo. But anyway, thank y'all for joining us for another episode of Halftime Adjustments. Eddie Arnell, G. Witt, Mr. J. Lou. Thank you for all the comments, the questions, the support of the show, man. Keep supporting us, guys. We trying to grow over here, trying to grow and do some things on YouTube and Facebook and some other things that are popping off. And we'll see the two-tone blue. Keep looking out for the information from us, man. And we'll be sending it to you, giving it to you. So we'll be back here next Sunday. Same time, same channel. Y'all know where to find us, man. Anything else before we go, gents? We good. All right. Tighten up, man. Appreciate you, Darius, man. Appreciate you, Dion, Will, Brian, all those that shout out. And Joe, good, man. Appreciate you coming on as well, man. This is Halftime Adjustments. Eddie Arnell, G. Witt. Eddie, you really didn't answer my question about Chris Moore. I think I did, Dion. I think I did. You got to go back and replay it.
I had to go back and look. What was his question about Chris Moore?
What was your question, Dion? If I missed it, I apologize, sir. You know I don't want to miss anything from you, man.
Exactly.
You've been down with us from the jump. And so if I missed it, man, I do apologize. But post it again real quick so I can get it before we get off. But yeah, but I did say about Chris Moore that he has been making plays quietly. You know, so he's a wily veteran. He's showing his little moxie that he has about He's been around for a little bit. If I was, so now you trying to be funny. No, I'm not answering your question, man. Get off my show. No, I'm not kidding to him, man. He ain't even want nothing. He may waste time for that.
Nah. But nah,
Touche, Dion.
it's something to say about Chris Moore when Vrabel said we tried to get him a couple of years ago and wasn't able to do it. Said wish we could have had him a couple of years ago. And you can see he was talking about pairing him up with AJ at that time. So it's just one of them things, man. It's going to be interesting to see how this wide receiver room shakes out. Also, it's going to be interesting to see how the running backs shake out. Outside the king, you don't know who's going to be the backup, especially with Hassan Haskins with his situation. You don't know what's going to happen with that. So it's going to be interesting to watch and see how all this plays out.
Much love, Dion. Much love. Again, man, thank y'all for joining us tonight. We're halftime adjustments. We're out of here, man. Peace.